Tesla Expo 2024. My first guest here, Brian McAuliff. So good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Happy to be here.
I understand you're a big fan of Nikola Tesla. Tell us that.
I sure am. I've read a bunch about him. I just think the mental capacity of a human being expressed in one person and what he's been able to accomplish and what he was able to start. Literally the electrical revolution at that time. It was vaudeville, basically vaudeville, and he changed the entire world.
He's like an electrical savant, right? He was so just completely focused. It wasn't part-time. It was he lived, breathed, and slept, and apparently didn't sleep over this.
No, and he dedicated his life to science. And there's always just Edison, and not to get too deep into the weeds right away, but there's this Edison, Tesla, back and forth. Tesla worked for Edison. Edison was very respectable then. Tesla was a little younger. Young guy comes to New York, works for Edison. And Edison's process, Edison is an inventor, and he invents by have a concept, and I'm going to keep on trying the concept as many times because I have a concept, and we'll build prototypes, and like the light bulb. They found when Edison was asked, "How do you build a light bulb?" Well, I found 5,000 ways not to build a light bulb, and then I ended up with one. Tesla never built a prototype. He categorically figured everything out in his head and did the math. He was truly, at a different league, a different level, and the radio waves and all this understanding of how this thing worked is amazing. He walked around in a vaudevillian way, in cork shoes, at the festivals like today. He'd be walking, if this was a festival in the 1800s, he'd be walking around with cork shoes, with a Tesla coil, with a wand, and causing big arcs of voltage, and that's how he became vaudevillian.
But isn't it funny? You and I just 10 minutes ago were looking at this vehicle that was out of space called the Cyber Beast. And it still felt that way, right? That's a reverberation of him, right? Take it to the next level. And now we're centered around that, which is incredible. But no less, the basis of that started with him.
The fact that that company has this name,
it's insane,
is really just a marketing genius, because if you dig down into what Nikola Tesla understood about the physical world, the electrophysical world, and his predictions of the cell phone and communications, it's way too sci-fi. You don't understand. You say, this guy's just a friggin' alien. He never had, he never dated. He was alone. He didn't own a home. Like Elon Musk is like, I'm in a little house. Tesla never even had a house. He stayed in a hotel room. Yeah. Hotel rooms, and the hotels had to have 3. The story that everybody should know about, if you know one story about Nikola Tesla, this is the one you should know. The one that you should know is that he invented this 3-phase motor, and the inductive motor was his genius. And he invented a 3-phase motor, and he went to George Westinghouse, was making all his coils. There is a clearing of land from here to the city in order for Westinghouse transformers and coils to get to this property, to get to this building.
Incredible.
So Westinghouse is giving, imagine this money-wise, right? Westinghouse is giving royalties to Tesla for his 3-phase motor horsepower. And he's giving some amount of money, which is a couple of dollars a horsepower. And in that day and age, he says, Nikolai, I have to have a meeting with you. Nikolai meets with George. He says, Nikolai, we're ramping up so much, we're running out of money. We can't afford this heavy royalty payment on every horsepower. And Nikolai pauses and he says, if I forgo all of my royalties, will you make 3-phase power? Will you do everything in your capabilities to make 3-phase power what the world depends upon, because it's the right thing to do? And he's a socialist, by the way, Tesla. And Westinghouse agrees to it. And think about how much stuff, that runs on 3-phase power. The entire world runs on Nikola Tesla's 3-phase power. He would have been a trillionaire
many times over when J.P. Morgan was still alive. He would have had that much money because
I mean, every home, every car, every building runs on this inductive motor situation.
Sure.
He would have patent rights in most homes. You think about it, what does a home have? It probably has 100 motors that use inductive phase motors.
Sure.
That he would have had some
Yep.
percentage of. Can you
That's
imagine?
incredible.
And,
I'm glad you brought
and
that
we,
up.
And we live by that piece. Of course, he was literally taken out of business on this property. Why? Because he built the big tower, and he was ready to use the earth as a ground. Everybody understands their car battery.
Yep.
Like, all right, so we're going to put a ground rod in the earth, and we're going to build a tower, and we're going to lightning bolt the power to your house. And of course, you know, the story, very shortened story, because this is a very interesting story. You know, J.P. Morgan finds out that, well, wait a minute, how are we going to meter that? Where am I going to get my money from? And, you know, Tesla's like, no, well, we're just going to make it free. And then, at that point in time, the finance guy, J.P. Morgan, says, this ain't happening.
Yeah.
And turn the valve.
Right here on this property.
This is it. This is the epicenter of that change.
We should let people know that are watching this, you know, obviously this is, or maybe not obviously, it's the last known remaining lab in Shoreham, New York, about 65 miles east of New York City. We're seeing the lab in its current state. I know it's been a long time coming because I know those of you that have followed would have thought this would have been built up by now. It is going to happen. We had an unfortunate fire probably coming up on a year now. But to my right, and the camera is showing that, is the tower, which is, what was it, 156 to 190 feet, something like that. And then, unfortunately, because that would have been outrageous, but I think we can rebuild that through a hologram one day. I think there's a way to do that through a hologram, but that was taken down because of the war. They thought we'd be easily be found through submarines, as I remember, being able to identify that. But again, we're at Shoreham, New York. We are at a Tesla Expo celebrating Nikola Tesla's birthday and talking to a few people that are Tesla fans, and you're certainly one of them. I just want to talk briefly about the fact that, A, you own a Tesla. And, you know, I don't like to put those two things together, Nikola Tesla, the inventor, and the fact that Elon Musk, you know, branded a car company called Tesla. It is cool the way it worked out, but what I don't want to happen is, like, people only started to know Tesla through that. It would have been nice if people started to know Nikola Tesla through science and learning in school. And I hope that's starting to happen. Certainly on Long Island, that is starting to happen. But your business, which has to do with technology, if you could just talk briefly about what you've been doing for the last, I think, 35 years, right?
Yeah, 30 plus years, almost 35, 33 and a half years. We've, company is Bri-Tech Inc. It started with me tinkering in my basement as a geek, etching circuit boards, building, you know, control systems. Mostly in this case, my first product was an energy management system to reduce electrical costs for buildings, and I sold that, you know, to a friend.
Cool.
And that was my first thing. My parents tolerated me not getting a job necessarily. I had a job for an engineering firm for 3 years. They sent me to Hong Kong. I'm a very spiritual person. I think, you know, God puts things in your path to learn very quickly. So my parents and my any kind of family holiday, the car would come up and my uncles or my aunts would give me the keys to their trunk, and there would be something in the trunk to be fixed. It would be a TV, a toaster, anything, and I would take it apart, a camera, and I put it back together, not know anything, and, you know, as far as I'm concerned, the spirit world, you know, fixed it for me or whatever, and that gave me confidence when I kind of really didn't deserve it yet. So I studied it. Cool. I got a degree in electronics, and really just dug into it. And then sooner or later, that's become a firm through a lot of effort and ups and downs. But we've become a firm of about 30 people. We do technology for high-end homes, museums, education, everything that, you know, I think that what people should understand, we're considered an integrator, but we are an inventive integrator, so we have our own software, we have our own solutions that are more custom to clients. So, you know, going back 20, 30 years ago, you'd buy a car, and you'd leave the car, and you'd go to an audio shop, and they would, you know, do whatever. They tint your windows, they put a better stereo in, whatever. But now when you buy a car, the electronics is more important than the engine. Sure. Almost any car, especially electric cars, the electronic systems and the electronic packages are more important than ever, because that's what you use. That's the user experience is more about the electronics. Even the cheapest car accelerates fast enough and is safe enough.
Yeah, sure.
So we are geared, and we have geared ourselves and invested heavily, millions of dollars, in becoming the brain power that runs today's and tomorrow's buildings and homes.
Very cool.
So we build integration systems. We work with builders, we work with architects, and of late, we work with manufacturers to design their control and touchscreen systems so that they are custom fit to their project. So when you walk into your house or walk into your building or pick up your phone, people say, what business are you in? I say, we're in a peace of mind business. Oh, what does that mean? That means that your home is a pretty big investment. You care a lot about it. You grow your family there. Your business is a big investment. It's where you make a living. We put all that on your phone. We give you the historical data, and that gives you peace of mind. No matter what, listen, I'm on vacation, but okay, I know everything. It's in one app.
Yeah, it's
Symbion
amazing.
is on one app, and that's our trajectory.
What's by the way, we are live, and I mean that in the truest sense of the word. We have no control of the music, but
it's a good background.
It's a good background, so thank you for putting up with that. What's like a feature that, what's funny about your business, like people they wouldn't ask for something because they don't know. They don't know what they don't know. So what are you thinking is happening for 2024, 25? Like what's a have-to-have feature?
Well, let me go back. Most people are relying on their contractors or the architect or rather for a lot of things, and unfortunately there's all this new technology that you're going to want. People are still putting gangs of light switches in their homes, like 5 or 6 light switches in a kitchen with a little paddle, when they could have just one elegant little keypad with engravings. They're not pre-wiring for the future. They're still just running this basic wire. I run Cat 5 to everything, and they really don't understand what the future holds. So the delta between what people are doing today without a company like ours, and there are others, we're not the only ones, but being able to set them up. If they don't bring a technology person in early, then all their technology is an afterthought. And they say, it's all wireless. I'll put a wireless speaker system. I'll put a wireless lighting system. And that is never, ever going to perform the way your car does.
I struggle with wireless. Hey, it's 2024. I struggle with getting a phone call, to be very honest. And that's wireless.
To answer your question, I'd say lighting control. If you're building new, invest in a wired, not wireless, lighting control system that's going to last you for a long period of time. It's only going to control the lights. You don't have to worry about being the latest generation. It's an iPad. You want the latest generation.
Yeah, right.
But a lighting control system, get it designed, it's going to work well forever. I've had systems out for 30 years and done. Your cameras need to be wired. Wireless cameras, your thermostats, all these things, connect them. So they're not relying on a wireless band that it may work good forever, but it may not, because all of a sudden that wireless band, for instance,
it's already happened, 2.4 to 5.
We're pretty smart here. You've got a nice old-fashioned, high-tech, but old-fashioned wired microphone system.
That's right.
Now I can tell you that our company sold, and many companies sold for decades, wireless microphones by Shure that were all over. They were in schools, they were in Broadway, they were everywhere. The FCC changed the frequency band. All those things are garbage now.
Yeah. They're worthless.
It can't be used and worthless.
I know that.
So if it's wired, it's going to work for the length of your use of that house
I learned the hard way. Yeah.
At least. So wired solutions from reliable manufacturers, and then pick a craftsman who, if you say, well, listen, I got a buddy down the street who knows how to do my house. Well, that's great. When your buddy retires to Florida, or he decides to get a different job, or it's not going to enhance your life. Let me enhance your life technically, and let you. With 30 people, we've got a call center. That allows people go with a company that's got resources, that's going to be there, or they're big enough that if they're not going to be there because the owner's going to leave, someone's going to buy them because they've got a foundation, they've got a corporation. We lose a lot of business to what I would call small trunk slammers working at their house, because they can kind of they can convince the customer that they can do the project for a lot less. But 10 years down the road, that customer's calling us and saying, can you help me out? And I'm saying,
ends up in the same place.
I got to back you up, man, because what was done here is inferior from the beginning. they didn't have, in order to get the right products, you got to be a certified dealer.
Sure.
Which means I send people training. They can be certified dealers to use the better stuff. But the guy working out of his house is probably not doing that.
No, he's not.
The manufacturer's like, you don't have enough resources.
Right.
So gurus are great, and if you're a guru yourself, you should do your own house. But if you're not a guru, make sure you hire somebody who's got a full bench.
Right.
Not just one smart guy or
All right.
gal.
Words of wisdom. Brian, really great talking to you. You live what we're here about today. You live it every day professionally, and it seems like personally. Again, you own a Tesla. I'm sure you love that. We saw the Cybertruck before. But more importantly, today's about celebrating this man, Nikola Tesla, and also let's give a lot of credit to the board that keeps pushing forward to make this happen. Doug, Mark, the staff, Lisa, everybody. And it will happen, but
what
this
they
is
do
the
for
best.
kids is great. I mean, really bringing
it's fantastic.
Bringing youth here is wonderful. Great displays for youth to understand this great.
It's very unique.
Event.
There's nothing like this where you can sit on the property of a world-renowned scientist year after year. It just keeps getting better. So thank you again, and enjoy your day. Very cool.
Very good. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.